Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is our Rise News analyst, Emmanuel Ifene. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Rufai. Yes, let's start with this day. Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, Buhari, no going back on Naira Redesign, insists nobody will be allowed to mobilize resources and thugs to intimidate people. CBN reiterates commitment to real sector intervention. LCCI urges Apex Bank to convert lower Naira denomination to coins. Well, I don't know the basis of that call. Nigerians seem to have abandoned coins. Converting the lower denominations to coins, will that make Nigerians now use the coin? I haven't gotten used to carrying bills. And over time, it's like any denomination that is coined, just go out of use. But they must have good reasons for making that call. Now, the president insisting there's no going back. So for those who are thinking there will be a change of mind or a postponement, well, the redesign of the Naira is ongoing, and at the appropriate time, it will come into circulation. Now, just above the lead story, Atiku, APC will become extinct after their defeat in 2023. Boasts he personally wrote his agenda without help of any professor. Welcomes reports of Wike's willingness to engage party leadership. PDP inaugurates youth council, cautions against reprisal attack. Tambuwa commends Edo for warmly receiving presidential train. Now, the Punch newspaper now the Naira and at the exchange and the exchange rate, Forex crisis. Traders lose as Naira rebounds to 720 Naira to the dollar. Currency jumps from 910 to 720 Naira in 6 days. How EFCC clamped down market sentiment, reverse Naira slide. BDC operators resist Naira rebound. Holds back greenback purchase. Well, it looks like good news, but at 720 to the dollar, we should still be weeping.
Yeah, we should be weeping, but it's good news. I'm happy.
The fact that the trajectory has changed, because some were already predicting that we're heading for 1,000 Naira to the dollar. But we hope this downward trend will continue. Whatever is responsible for this, I think we should pursue. Well, is it the clampdown on the BDCs of just market sentiment? But the fact that there's a rebound of the Naira in the last 6 days is something that every Nigerian should welcome. Of course, those who have dollars tucked away somewhere will not be happy. Of course, those who have been hoarding dollars, buying up dollars at exorbitant rate, thinking that before long it will be 1,000 Naira to the dollar, well, they're losing money. But let's just move on to other stories. Now, the Guardian newspaper, 65,699 PVCs burnt. Fear heightens after twin attacks on INEC offices. INEC summons emergency security meeting today. Ogun CP, INEC offices need increased security. PDP, APC condemns attacks. Gaya, insecurity won't affect election censors. Elections can't hold amid insecurity. Secure Nigeria now, Bishop tells federal government. PDP restates commitment to violence-free poll despite attack on its rally. Election results cannot be influenced with beavers, INEC reiterates. Now, this is quite disturbing. The attack on INEC offices in Ogun and Osun states yesterday, destroying PVCs, ballot boxes, as well as the voting facility, other voting facilities. Well, whoever is behind this does not wish the nation well. But I think given this experience, no area, no state should be seen as immune from this violence. Therefore, security must be provided in all INEC offices around the country, every state, because from what we have seen, it's not restricted to any zone with what this development. So the police, of course, INEC has summoned a security meeting with security agencies, and I'm sure securing INEC facilities ahead of the election, because what this, whoever is behind this want to do is to set back the independent National Electoral Commission ahead of the 2023 polls. But clearly, there are some people who don't want that election to take place. Whatever their motive for carrying out these attacks, well, these people need to be fished out, but more importantly, all INEC facilities across the country must be secured. We don't want to hear that, oh, they overpower the security men again. This was unexpected, but going forward, I think there should be some level of more security around INEC facilities. New Telegraph newspaper also has a story. Attacks. INEC calls for emergency security meeting today. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, Tinubu, $460,000 US tax. APC, PDP campaigns trade words. Tinubu committed no crime. PDP went to US, dug up old document. Keyamo, quoting Keyamo there, says $460,000 deducted as tax on 10 accounts linked to Tinubu in US. Tinubu has questions to answer over $460,000 for official. PDP insists. Of course, there's been back and forth between the PDP and the APC campaign organization. A couple of days ago, Keyamo was on TV insisting that no crime was committed and even promising to stake his years of practice, his position as a senior advocate of Nigeria and many years of as a prosecutor on this matter. While Buala, what's his first name again? Daniel Buala, the spokesperson for the Atiku campaign organization, saying, look, you know what? There is a crime here, because for that forfeiture to take place, it means something fishy happened. But again, the story, as clearly stated in those documents, 10 accounts linked to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, of course, questioned. One thing that was not in doubt is that persons involved in drug business paid some money into that account, and they were around Tinubu well, and the authorities did the needful. But if these persons were around Tinubu, someone would say, tell me who your friends are. And as that saying goes. But we'll continue to hear more of this kind of brickbats as the election draws nigh. Of course, Ruben used to say, if you go into politics ready for anything, because your opponents will dig all kinds of stories, real, imagined, in the past or in the present. Now, Daily Trust newspaper, attacks. INEC holds emergency meeting today. Now, the Nation newspaper, how Tinubu will actualize plans on economy, security. Technocrats explain how APC candidate will deliver on promises. Yes, using experts to speak for you. Well, it's a contrast, sharp contrast with that of Atiku, who said, well, I wrote my agenda myself. I did not use professors. And in the case of Tinubu, using technocrats not only to write, but even to speak on his programs. Maybe a matter of style, a matter of strategy, or whatever interpretation you want to give to the two positions, the two presidential candidates and their strategy. Now, if we look at the Business Day newspaper, oil royalty boosts easy state's cash flow. Yes, a combination of an increase in oil and gas royalty and high Brent crude price is seen as bringing relief for Nigeria's cash-strapped federal, state, and local government in the coming months. Yes, the bulk of the revenue shared by the Federal Accounts and Allocation Committee meeting by the federal, state, and local government. This should be good news for many states that have been struggling to pay salaries because recall some months earlier in the year where the NMPC could not even make any money available for sharing on account of much of the revenue it's generated going into fuel subsidy or what they call under recovery. Ruben and Rufai, over to you.
Okay, first, let me comment on the attack on INEC facilities. The first one at Yano Mortuary in Abeokuta, where, 8 generators were destroyed, over 68,000, PVCs, and also other equipment belonging to the Independent National Electoral Commission. And then in Ede South, where part of the INEC headquarters was also destroyed. You'll recall, when you add to this, the fact that there have been reports of violence in Kaduna against the PDP, in Maiduguri against the PDP, in Lagos, in Nasarawa, those two places, and elsewhere against supporters of the Labour Party, that it will appear that the threat of violence going into these 2023 general elections will appear to be very real. And it's very disturbing, considering the fact that all these political parties had signed a peace accord and they had promised to eschew violence. So the political parties are not eschewing violence. Even if the violence is coming from non-political actors, it cannot be justified on any basis whatsoever. It puts INEC under further pressure. Don't forget also that INEC had pointed out that in 242 polling units in Katsina State, for security reasons, it will be very difficult to hold elections unless those persons in the 242 polling units in Katsina are relocated elsewhere. INEC has also had cause to raise an alarm about flood that in the affected states from River Niger to Bayelsa, that many of their offices and facilities have also been affected. And those who raise concerns, fears about the integrity of the 2023 electoral process, they have a justification here. So who is after INEC? Flood, you may say that's natural disaster. But who is behind
these attacks?
This coordinated, it will appear, this persistent, repeated, attacks on INEC offices and facilities is something that has to be taken very seriously. In another story that we took during the headlines, the Inspector General of Police was appealing to politicians. No. We don't want the IGP to become a cleric. His job is not to preach to people. His job, as has been spelled out for him by President Muhammadu Buhari at the retreat of senior police officers in Owerri recently, is to be professional and provide security. And that providing that security is not only on the day of election, it is before, during, and after. Because the indication that we're seeing is that there's a big job ahead for all the security agencies, not just the police, with regard to the threat of violence. Now, President Buhari says no going back on Naira Redesign. Well, this is the second time he will be, expressing confidence in the initiative of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The Central Bank of Nigeria itself saying that according to Section 19 of the CBN Act, it had taken, the president into confidence and got the president's approval. And that, to the dismay of those who say what they are doing is illegal, it is not illegal because the CBN has followed the law. Perhaps the fact that the Naira is appreciating against the dollar, well, maybe some justification for that process. Or could it be that because of the drop in inflation in the US to 7.7% in October, from 8.2% in September, and the fact that the dollar has dropped against the pound, against the yen, maybe this is also what we're seeing. But what we can hold on to is that the demand for the dollar has gone down, a bit. But you know that the Naira is very volatile. It continues to behave like a yo-yo. And so when it yo-yos again, it may go up again. So, and that's why we say the uncertainty is something we need to focus more, and focus more on the value of the Naira. How do you strengthen the value of the Naira so that it doesn't survive on the vagaries, of the economic weather elsewhere? But another thing that the CBN probably needs to address will be the fact that the farmers are kicking. Commodities associations, about 68 of them, they are appealing to President Buhari that the Anchor Borrowers Program, which provided a lot of support for farmers, has now been more or less suspended by the CBN in an attempt by the Central Bank of Nigeria to address inflation. And they are saying, with rising cost of inputs, with the floods that have destroyed many of their farms, that the CBN should find strong justification to continue with the ABP as it is otherwise known.
But what has been the repayment?
Well, these banks give them money. Have they been able to pay back? Are they claiming force majeure?
It's a lot of them have
even before the flood, many were defaulting already.
A lot of them are not be able to pay back, and that system is quite, it's the rigor. There's a rigor to it, and they need to come clean on that system of the anchor borrower scheme. I mean, how many of the true farmers get anchor borrowers? And one other point I'd like to make is, it is part of those interventions of the CBN that has put us where we are as regards inflation. Because we forget in a hurry that the CBN had to print money for that. That's why you see Ways and Means getting over 22 trillion now. And now, as against their laws, they've had to securitize that in bonds and to the Nigerian people.
Haven't they denied that? They've denied that.
It's waiting to be seen, though. But when the announcement was made as regards that, we saw the backlash and the effects. And the 22 trillion, how is it going to be paid back? Now, those are the things that are causing the inflation we're having. Coupled with the fact that we've had decisions that were wrong in the first place. You want to show up the potential of your local farmers. The next thing you did was to close the borders. Did you see how inflation numbers jumped after the border closure? So look at the impact of all of this on the people. And that's what is happening now as we speak. And coupled with that, the problems with the currency, the Naira. We're celebrating 720. Yes, I'm happy. But the truth is, was that the rate of the Naira at the start of the year? Was that the rate of the Naira at the start of the year? I ask.
Even before the announcement of the redesign, it was lower.
It was, in fact, the surge where we crossed into the 600 mark was because of the party primaries. Since then, we've not gone back. At the start of the year, was that the rate of the Naira? So we've seen a currency deteriorate so bad, lost hundreds of percentage points, vis-a-vis when the administration got in 2015. We've seen from how 216 was a big deal then, that they said, 216 is not good enough, to over 700 as we speak today. We celebrate the wins. We are not oblivious of the fact that we need to celebrate the wins, but we can do a whole lot better as a nation. And that has always been the argument. So if they deny now that they are not securitizing that 22 trillion Ways and Means, what happens to it? What happens to it? You've printed money now. What happens to it? How do we balance it out? Let's ask ourselves these critical questions. And that's why a lot of people keep complaining about the economic policy of this administration. Yes, it's a good decision. You want to mop up the currency and all that. But the ones you've printed to be able to set inflation alight in the first place, what happens to it? Were you supposed to print that much in the first place? Was it not a violation of the Fiscal Responsibility Act? Were you supposed to print more than the certain threshold of the 5% of your earlier revenue? Were we? When we were breaking the laws, didn't we know? Haven't we doubled? What our inflation target? Is it not 9%? Haven't we doubled our inflation targets in this country by the CBN? Well, let's tell another tale.
You didn't take foreign stories.
Yes, we just...
okay, to save time.
Yeah, to save time.
We'd like to thank you very much for joining us again. Thank God it's Friday.